things are starting to come together, and I think right now is a really good time to put in some dummy data. So here, instead of having to create 20 scary stories all manually, let's do it with our seeds file so that we can automate that process and have some data to play around with. Going into our text editor, go into our seeds file, and in here we'll want to create some stories. So we've already created our categories, and what we can do here is let's create a user as well. User create email, and we're going to stick with Bob. Now I know he already exists, but after this we're going to clear out our database and run this seed file. And now let's create our stories. So we can do, let's just create 30 stories. You can create however many you'd like. Do and do story, create. Body is going to be just hello world. User ID will be, we'll say 1, and the category ID is going to be, let's pick a random category. We have 6 categories up here, and so it'll just randomly assign a category for every story it creates. Now go into our terminal and do a rake db migrate reset. And what this will do is essentially clear out your whole entire database and run all of your migration files again. So it just basically starts you from scratch, but it recreates all of your database tables. Good. Now going into the application, if you do a refresh, you'll see that we have no scary stories, we don't have any categories. Now do rakedb seed, and I went through and created all of our data for us. Do a refresh, and there we have it. All of our categories come back, and we have all of these stories here. We have 30 stories. Good. Now we've got some dummy data to play around with. The next thing that I want to do is to add pagination. So right here, to make these buttons work here. And we can do that by adding a gem. So we're going to use a gem for this. So if we go into our gem file, the gem that we want to add here is called Kaminari. It's a very popular gem. There's a lot of people that use it, and it's kept up to date a lot. Kaminari. And let's get the latest version. So do a bundle install, and remember to restart your server every time you add a new gem. So server started. And the way to get that working is go into our stories controller. And in here, our stories.all, because that's what's showing on our home page right here. This is just showing us all of the stories. We want to paginate this. So what you can do is, let's order it first. Order it by ID descending, and then page params page per, we'll just say 10 for now. So we're going to paginate this per 10 and for every 10 stories. And to get that to work, we have to go into our index HTML ERB, and let's see, right at the very bottom is where we can put our pagination. So div class container, and we can say paginate stories. So this should work for us. go into our application in the browser, do a refresh, and there we have it. Now it's not these buttons right here, but down here actually. And we can change that too, we'll style it. But first let's just make sure that this worked. It's fantastic. It only shows us 10 stories, and now it's all paginated. And so what we want to do is style this and make it look like what we have here, what our template gave us. So if you just do Google Kaminari Bootstrap, there is a command that you can type that'll make it so that your Bootstrap, your Kaminari will use the Bootstrap styling. And this is what we'll do right here. So just copy that. Going back into your terminal, we'll do Rails-G Kaminari Views Bootstrap. We have to do Bootstrap 3, since that's what we're using. And it'll go through and create all of these views for us and change up the way the pagination is styled. Now if we go into our application and do a refresh, there we have it. It put all of the Bootstrap styling in automatically. And if we take a look at the files that it's created, we've got next page, last page, all of these have Kaminari's or Bootstrap styling to them. Previous page, first page. So it went through and created all of these views for us. And if we're on our index, HTML, we can get rid of this right here. And that's found. The hard-coded pagination is found right here. Just delete that. Do refresh, and there you go. And if we want, we could put this right below it and really have it be where it was before. And actually that pushes it a little bit over to the right, so if we keep it down here at the bottom, it might just be better keeping it down there. Good. So we have our stories all paginated every 10 times. And if you want to make sure that it works, we can go into our stories controller and just say every 5 times. Do a refresh, and now it's only 5, and we have a lot more pages. And you can go to the last one. So we've created some, I'm going to change this back to 10. So we've created some dummy data to play around with, and now we are able to paginate it and see that the pagination works.